So today we'll see how different organisms breathe, how they inhale the air and how they exhale the air, and what type of air do they inhale. So let's start with the plants. In plants, what happens? They take in carbon dioxide via stomatal pores, and that carbon dioxide combines with the water which they receive from roots via xylem tissues. Now, this water combines with carbon dioxide only in the presence of sunlight, and it forms glucose, oxygen and water. Oxygen is the byproduct of this reaction, means it is the byproduct of photosynthesis which plants exhale out via stomatal pores. Since this reaction means photosynthesis can take place only in the presence of sunlight, so this process takes place only in the daytime, while during night time, when sunlight is not available, photosynthesis does not occur. So the captured CO2 is not getting used up. In this case, plant starts to exhale out carbon dioxide. So in daytime, carbon dioxide is inhaled, and after the process of photosynthesis, oxygen which is generated in the plant, it is exhaled out via stomatal pore. But during night, when sunlight is not available, carbon dioxide is exhaled out by the plant. This is how breathing respiration takes place in plants. Now we will see how breathing respiration takes place in fishes. So fishes, they inhale oxygen, but since they live in the aquatic environment where free oxygen is not available, so what they do is they take in water through their mouth and they push that water past the gills. Imagine gills as a very fine net, and water is pushed past the net, past the gills. Here the oxygen molecules, they do not cross this net, and rest of the material, it crosses the net. And these oxygen molecules which are behind the net, they are actually passed into the blood capillaries that are passing near the gills, and oxygen in this way is supplied to all the body parts of the fish. That is how fish takes in oxygen. Now, second important point, which is also very important question according to board exams, is that why is breathing rate of fishes higher than that of the terrestrial organisms, means the organisms who live on land? It is because in water, the amount of dissolved oxygen is less than that present in the air. To fulfill their oxygen requirements, they have to breathe very fast. That is why their breathing rate is faster than the terrestrial organisms, because terrestrial organisms, they breathe in air where free oxygen molecules, O2 molecules, are available, so they get enough oxygen in one breath. Okay, so that is how breathing respiration takes place in fishes. So now we'll understand breathing respiration in terrestrial organisms. For that, we'll take up the best example, that is of human beings. But before understanding the breathing pattern, we need to understand the respiratory system, because human beings are much complex than all the other organisms we have discussed before. So this is how a respiratory system in a human being looks like. So what happens when we inhale air? when we inhale air, the air goes into our nostrils. In nostrils, here I have labeled nostrils. In nostrils, there are very thin, very fine hair which become obstacle for any dust particles or any foreign big particles to go into the lungs. So only air passes through the nostrils and then it passes through the passage. We call it as nasal passage. After this air reaches the throat, this area, which is called pharynx in scientific term. So it reaches throat. After throat, it crosses the voice box, which we call as larynx. After larynx, it passes down to the windpipe. We call it as trachea. Now here, this windpipe is a muscular structure. It is not any bone. It is not a hard bone. So if it is a muscular structure, it can happen that this muscle can collapse. If this muscle will collapse, then the air which is coming, how will it pass down? So to prevent this windpipe or trachea from collapsing, it has, imagine it as a pipe-like structure. It has some rings fitted inside. So I'll show these rings as this here. So these rings are called rings of cartilage. What is a cartilage? It is a soft bone. These are rings of cartilage. These rings of cartilage, they prevent the windpipe from collapsing. It is an important 1 mark question in CBSE board exam. So kindly remember this. Now after passing through the trachea, now the air, it splits into 2 branches. We call every branch bronchus and together we call it as bronchi. These 2 bronchi, they enter the respective lungs. Now this is my left side. So this lung is called right lung, mirror image. And this lung is called left lung. Right lung, the size of right lung is greater than the size of left lung because heart is present near the left lung, which occupies some space. Now after these bronchi, or if we call it as a bronchus in singular, it enters the lung, it further branches into fine pipe-like structures. These are these pipe-like structures into which it further branches and air passes from here to here in several branches. Now these minute branches then further make other branches and they further make other branches. These are called bronchioles. I will label it now so that you can understand. These are called bronchioles. Trachea, bronchi, bronchioles. So at the terminal or at the end of these bronchioles, there are some balloon-like structures, very thin balloon-like structures which are called alveoli. These alveoli are the balloon-like structures. The air finally reaches these balloon-like structures and here the exchange of gases takes place. What happens here is, see, this is an alveoli. Here, when we inhale, oxygen is filled in this alveoli. There are many alveoli. I am showing here only one to explain how exchange of gases take place. So when oxygen is inhaled, it gets filled in this balloon-like structure and the blood which is circulating in the body, this is a blood capillary which is passing nearby this capillary. This contains carbon dioxide. Now this contains carbon dioxide. This blood capillary is filled with carbon dioxide, and alveoli, it is filled with oxygen. Concentration of oxygen is more in the alveoli, so it will tend to move in the blood capillary where concentration of oxygen is very less. And as concentration of carbon dioxide is high in blood capillary, so it will tend to move in the alveoli where concentration of CO2 is very less. As a result, CO2 is filled into the alveoli and oxygen is filled in the blood capillary. Now this blood capillary will pass on, the blood continues to circulate, so it will pass on, and this oxygenated blood or the oxygen will be supplied to all parts of the body, and the CO2 which is filled in these alveoli, it will be exhaled out. So this is how respiratory system works in carrying out breathing in human beings. Now I have made this structure here. What is this? This is also a muscular structure. We call it diaphragm. Whenever we breathe in, this diaphragm, it lifts up. Also the rib cage in which these lungs are encaged, they give space to the lungs to expand. When we exhale out, this diaphragm, it lifts down and the rib cage also returns to its normal position. This was breathing respiration in human beings.